You are listening to
Radio 7.
Radio 7.
Radio 7.
Young Pictures. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Radio 7. I'm Jacob Abi, the writer and director of the documentary Get Schooled. And this week, I'm going to be your host for the episodes of Young Pictures, a program where young creators come and explain their media production process and business aspects associated to their work. I've made a documentary promotional package consisting of a website, a poster, and the first 5 minutes of a documentary. This documentary focuses on analyzing the value of the British A-level system in the hopes of encouraging discussion, critical thinking, and over a thought on this subject. So let's get down to business, shall we? So, one of the first things you need is inspiration. Something to base yourself on while you produce your work. So what I did was look at some documentaries like Bowling for Columbine and Tales of the Grim Reaper. Definitely very, very interesting documentaries. I recommend to check them out if you have time. And I tried to find a topic on which to base my documentary. It is important to also understand how documentary conventions work by looking at your source of inspiration, by looking at these other documentaries. So, a convention is basically a fancy word for a recurring aspect, almost a rule, and in the production process, it's very important. I wanted my documentary to be a blend of expository, participatory, and performative styles of documentary. These are all different ways to tell a documentary, and they have different conventions to follow. So, for example, the expository style in my documentary is seen by the presence of old footage, something which in media terms is called archive footage, and by the presence of narration, while the participatory style is seen by the presence of interviews and very dynamic, so constantly moving camera work, such as a handheld shot throughout my documentary. If instead we look at the performative style, it is characterized by the presence of the narrator himself on screen to give what it's like to be their perspective. Something that I have also decided to include in my documentary. Of course, rules are meant to be broken, so when you produce a text, you don't have to be afraid to diverge from what is seen as normal, from what these rule. And in my experience, I've tried to come up with my own unusual additions to these styles. So, for example, we have shot an entire interview with a handheld camera to give a more dynamic, a more moving experience. Since we were filming in a school, we wanted to portray the life behind the school, the constant students that are moving in the hallways or from class to class. And on the second interview that we filmed, we had the narrator being completely off camera, and only his voice as he asked the question was heard, so as to concentrate completely on the subject that is being interviewed, by also reminding the viewer of the presence of the narrator there throughout the text. I also decided to integrate a sequence where basically I'm vlogging. Vlogging is a thing that is very used nowadays, especially in YouTube videos, where you basically film yourself and what you do throughout the day. And we did this so as to appeal to a younger audience throughout the text. Now, what I try to do also is to diverge in other forms of media. And since here I had the opportunity to create also a poster, I try to break some of these rules also in poster making. Of course, I included some conventional aspects like the title, the reviews, the tagline, and the blurb, because they're crucial aspects to a poster. They add meaning, they add information that the viewer needs to see. But I've decided to, for example, take away the director's name. So what I mean by this is, when you normally look at a poster, you see, for example, the title, the tagline, but you also see something like a film by and the name of the director. What we have decided to do here was to just take away that aspect and keep it only in the blurb, because it's an aspect you need to have in a poster, but we decided to make it less prominent. And this is for a reason of branding, something we will explore more in a later episode. But just to give you a sneak peek, basically it allows us to boost and concentrate the viewer's attention on the brand image of the text itself, so on the title Get Schooled of the documentary, rather than on the director's name, the director's brand. If you instead visit the website, which I think I'm gonna be able to plug. Oh yeah, I can? Sorry, I was just double checking with the show's producer and I'm getting thumbs up. So if you were to visit the documentary's website at www.getschooleddocumentary.weebly.com, you will also see their typical pages, such as the synopsis or how to watch the documentary and the director's profile, but also things that you wouldn't normally see in the website of a documentary, like a merchandising page. Again, this is an aspect we decided to introduce for a question of branding, and we believe it's something very important, especially nowadays. Now, once you have all of these rules and set up and broken, you can't yet begin production, as without having a clear idea in your head of what is your purpose, what you want to show and represent in the documentary, you can't really begin the production. I mean, what Get Schooled concentrates on, for in our case, is representing students and parents' possible views on education, a key aspect of society. And in fact, one of the social issues we try to represent in this text is the constant doubt that is present on how children and teens are educated, whether it is the right way, what other options are there, how could it be improved constantly. And this is the key aspect that the documentary tries to represent, that the documentary tries to focus on. And it's something that it's very important when you're producing a piece. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode, and next time we will talk about something I've teased many times today, which is branding. So see you next time.